Did you know that there is a surprising link between COVID-19 or long haulers and gut health? Today, we're going to unpack what the research says about how the COVID virus impacts digestive function. There's a couple hallmark things that we see happen with the gut when someone has COVID-19, especially when it turns into what we would call long haulers, where you've been symptomatic for an extended period of time, at least 8 weeks after the initial infection. The first change that we see is an increase in fungal burden. This has been actually shown in the research. Generally speaking, the fungal burden comes from something like Candida albicans. And this increased fungal burden happens in part because the immune system is overloaded with the high viral load and can't really control and regulate the level of fungus and bacteria in the body like it should. We also see a correlation with a lower abundance of anti-inflammatory species within commensal bacteria. Think of these like your probiotics or your good bacteria. Particularly, there's been a correlation with lower amounts of the bacterium Faecalibacterium as well as Bifidobacterium. And these are both really important bacteria for helping support a healthy mucosal layer, which helps improve our gut immune function and also helping to digest and degrade the foods that we eat. On the other end of this, we also see an increase in pro-inflammatory species. These are what we call dysbiotic bacteria. Particularly E. coli has been shown to be elevated in individuals that have long COVID or have the long-term COVID symptoms. Persistence of these changes within the gut microbiome have been shown for many months after the acute infection, even in individuals that don't go on to develop long-term symptoms like long haulers. In addition to this, long COVID impacts our small intestine function. SARS-CoV-2 binds to the ACE2 receptors in the small intestine and can actually impact the function and health of our small intestine integrity. There's 3 main changes that happen with the binding of SARS-CoV-2 to the ACE2 receptors. The first one is an impairment in our amino acid absorption, particularly the amino acid tryptophan, which is important for our ability to absorb proteins that are critical for growth processes in the body as well as hormone regulation and our immune function. The second one is a decrease in mucin production, which is important for our gut mucosa, which is a critical piece to our gut immune system. And the third one is a change in inflammation levels and oxidative stress, particularly in the gut. Now, finally, a key change that we see with SARS-CoV-2 is an increase in permeability of the gut lining, or what is commonly referred to as leaky gut. And when there is a leaky gut, the tight junctions that are in the gut that protect us from keeping those bacteria and fungus in the gut so that they don't then leak into the immune system is impaired. And when this happens, something called lipopolysaccharides, which are these like little inflammatory compounds, get displaced into the bloodstream, and this causes an immune reaction that can trigger a whole host of inflammatory type issues. Let's talk about treatment options for the gut, specifically based off these changes that we see with long COVID. The first one is butyrate. Butyrate is an incredible nutrient for the gut, particularly the large intestine, and can actually be consumed in the diet through eating foods like resistant starches. Resistant starches are found in starches that are cooked and then cooled, as well as things like unripe green bananas or even potato flour can be utilized for this. You can also supplement with butyrate as well. Secondly, polyphenols are really important for that mucosal function of the gut that we see impaired with COVID. Polyphenols are going to be things that are rich in foods like green tea, as well as berries, particularly those dark, deep berries like pomegranates and cranberries and cherries, and things like dark leafy greens. Probiotics can also be incredibly important, both food sources as well as supplementation. Some individuals with long COVID experience histamine sensitivity, and if that is the case, then you may have difficulties with consuming probiotics, and particularly things like fermented foods such as kombuchas and kefirs and pickled vegetables. However, if you can tolerate these foods well, then they are a great source of these different probiotic strains. And you can also look at utilizing supplementation of specific strains that help to be able to inoculate the gut to support that commensal or that good bacteria to be able to help improve your probiotic ratios. We also want to make sure that we have an abundance of mucosal healing aspects within the diet to support that mucosal barrier and ultimately improve our gut immune system. There are particular foods that help boost this. Demulcins are one type of food category that can help do this. Things like slippery elm, marshmallow root can be great options. You can find these a lot of times sometimes within herbal teas, and throat coat, for example, is a great option, or something that you could pair together as a loose leaf tea. Chia seeds are also really great for this, as are flax seeds and okra. So these are foods that can be incorporated into the diet on a regular basis to be able to help with that mucosal lining. If you're looking for supplementation, we have a product called Gut Soothe that's a really great all-in-one for this. It has those amino acids in there. It has the slippery elm, the marshmallow root, the aloe vera, all of those mucosal healing type aspects to be able to help with healing this intestinal permeability or leaky gut. And then finally, we want to make sure that we are eating a low inflammatory diet, that we are eating foods that help to be able to support the inflammatory process, that help lower inflammation levels, that help support our gut integrity, and that aren't contributing towards more intestinal permeability or leaky gut, or more growth of those dysbiotic organisms in the gut that, as we mentioned, can be elevated just because of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. This could look like incorporating a lot of these foods that we've talked about so far, as well as making sure that we're not eating things that could irritate the gut lining. For example, gluten can be a food that has been linked to an increase in intestinal permeability, as well as foods that are high in the herbicide glyphosate. And that's mainly going to be found in things like chickpeas, corn, and wheat. So you can sometimes also purchase foods in those categories that are glyphosate free or glyphosate tested. And then also purchasing organic in those categories can also help. There's a lot more anti-inflammatory strategies that we can explore, and we teach you exactly how to do that in our program, Inflammation Harmony. You can learn more about the program and sign up for our waitlist for our next live program over at functionalfeeling.com/inflammation-harmony. Thanks so much for tuning in to today's video. If you love this video and you want to learn more, hit the bell to subscribe to my channel so that you'll know exactly when I release my next video.